Hello stampers, this is Yana Smakula. Welcome back for another Hero Arts video. In this one, which is a part of the color layering series, we're taking a closer look at the color layering Sunflower Field HeroScape stamp set. Join me as I play around with this set and show you how to combine it with other sets from Hero Arts to make various occasion greeting cards. I'm going to start this video a little backward, but I hope you'll stick with me to the end. I have already planned my cards, and I knew I'll need to create sky backgrounds for these. So I started by making those backgrounds first. I wanted to try something different to make backgrounds, sky backgrounds for my today's cards, and I attempted something I call shoe shine inking background technique. This basically is a form of direct-to-paper ink application where you take your ink pad and apply the color from the ink pad directly to the paper. But you do it in a shoe shining fashion. Imagine a piece of paper is a shoe and you're polishing it. Use the ink pad as a polishing tool and polish your paper with it. To make the polishing easier, I'm starting with a piece of colored cardstock. This is Hero Arts MISTI. You can start with a white panel, but that will require more ink and more effort. So starting with a light blue or the cardstock color that closest resembles the lightest color of ink you plan to use is best. I'm first going to shoe shine with a soft sky to indigo ombre ink pad. I love to use ombre ink pads for this technique the most, as they instantly give me 3 colors of ink on my background. You can, by all means, use single color ink pads for this technique, and I'll show you that as well. So take your ink pad and shoe shine that piece of paper until it is the color that you want. Having applied color with my ombre ink pad, I'm also going to apply additional color, extending it further down using the dusky blue ink pad. I did pick several shades of blue for these backgrounds, and I'm using many of them to create a various color sky for my cards. Here, I also want to darken the sky, so I'm using navy. This is the darkest blue in my stash, and I'm using that to add really dark blue to the top of my sky panel. And I'm going to set this panel aside to dry. You have to remember to let these panels dry. As the ink dries, it will become lighter, less dark on your paper. Even drying it for 1 minute will already slightly change its color on the paper. For the next panel, I'm going to use Pool to Navy Ombre ink pad. This has more of a blue-green color, but these colors still work really well for the sky background. Again, you want to polish your panel with your ink pad to the desired amount of ink and color on the panel. Next, I'm using the Pool ink pad to add additional color and extend that color a bit further down. I'm also going to intensify the top of the panel with the navy ink pad. And look how gorgeous that sky turned out. For my last panel, I'm going to use single ink pads to show you don't necessarily need ombre ink pads, although they do make this technique a lot easier. I'm starting with the dusty blue, my lightest blue for this panel, and shoe shining from the middle to about 2/3 up the panel. Next, adding color Pool, starting a bit further up, taking this color all the way up to the top of the panel. Next, using Stonewash color to add darker blue color to the top of my panel. And again, I'm shoe shining the ink pads on the paper. Once you have your background created, set them aside to dry. We will come back to them once all of our stampings are done. So today we're using the color layering Sunflower Field HeroScape stamp set from Hero Arts. This is a large 6x8 set featuring a gorgeous layering image of the sunflower field. It also includes several sentiments and silhouette images to complete the scene. I thought I would go directly to the stamping part and show you how to stamp the beautiful fields and also demonstrate how easy these stamp layers align for foolproof stamped results. I'm using a stamping tool to stamp these. This is Mini MISTI in black, and I encourage you to use a stamping tool. This tool or a similar tool when stamping color layering images. It makes a world of a difference. It is much easier to align layers when using a stamp positioner. This tool is also handy because it allows you to mass produce images with ease. I'm working on several cards, so I need to stamp several sunflower fields, and I can do that easily with my MISTI. I've already stamped the base leaf layer, and I used lime green ink for that. Here I have 3 panels where I've already stamped the base layer. I just flip the panels in my MISTI when stamping to stamp on both ends of the panel. I have already placed the detail leaf layer on my panel that is placed in the MISTI. Here is a close-up. You can see how easily that aligns with the previously stamped layer. I'm using a dark green color here. This is Forever Green, and stamping this layer over the base to add details to the stems and leaves of my sunflower field. All of the images and layers are going to use the same color combo today, but I encourage you to look through your stash for similar ink colors if you don't have these exact ink pad colors. You will need a light and a dark green, a light and a dark yellow, and a brown or black ink pad. And look how gorgeous this turned out. Again, I went ahead and stamped the other panels, and here they all are. I love how each consecutive layer adds more and more detail to this image. I've already aligned my base flower layer. Again, it was very easy to do, and now I'm stamping it with the Hero Arts Butterbar ink. Here's a look at all of the panels with the base sunflowers stamped, and these are starting to look very pretty. The next layer aligns easily over the previous one. It just falls over the flowers, and I'm using caramel color to stamp these details, and I love how this layer adds shadows to the petals of the sunflowers and begins to define the flower centers. Again, here's what this color looks like on the other panels we stamped. This stamp set has also a 5th layer, the flower centers. I like to stamp mine in black ink, although a dark brown color could also work for this. And this completes our sunflower field image. Very beautiful and easy to stamp. I'm going to stamp additional images from the sunflower stamp set to help me build my scenes. I'm stamping the image of a barn in various colors of ink. First using caramel, then ombre autumn. I love to use my ombre ink pads for solid images like this barn. Ombre inks add additional interest to solid images with ease. I'm also using Copper Joe, dark brown color, and I even stamped a few barns in red using Red Royal ink from Hero Arts, although I ended up not using the red barns for my cards, and I saved those images for future cards. There's also an image of a fence, and I'm stamping multiples of those using dark and light brown inks, Copper Joe and soft brown, and finally stamping that last structure again in light and dark brown inks. I went ahead and stamped several mountain hills and forests using Hero Arts Mountains at the Lake stamp set. I used the same colors of green ink as I did before, the lime green and forever green. I ended up not using the forests for today's cards, and I just saved those die cuts for future projects. With the backgrounds and stamped images ready, we can start to build our scenes. I'm going to add at least one sunflower field die cut onto each panel, actually adding 3 to one of the panels as I want to have one big sunflower field. And next I'm using additional elements to help build my scenes. I'm adding mountains and hills, buildings and fences, and this is what my panels look like. We just need to adhere these elements in place and add our sentiments, and the cards will be finished. I've sped up this last part quite a bit, as I'm sure you don't need to watch me adhere the elements in place. But just in case you are curious, I'm using a combination of glue to adhere elements directly to the panel, with foam adhesive squares to pop some of the elements slightly up on the card, and also using foam tape, which is a bit thicker than my foam adhesive squares, to pop the most forward layer the most. I'm trimming each panel to 4 by 5¼ inches so that when I adhere it to an A2 card base, I'm going to have a bit of a white border on my cards. The sentiments for all of these cards were stamped in black ink, either directly on the sky panel or on a piece of white cardstock. For my last card, I die cut a circle from the sky background and adhered the scene so that it was enclosed in that circle. I did use the leftover sky background panel, and adhered it to the A2 card base to add interest to my card. Main circle panel was foam mounted to add dimension to the project. I hope this video has given you some stamping ideas to try with your color layering sets from Hero Arts. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.